Since Ange Postecoglou's appointment as Tottenham Hotspur manager, I don't think there's been a dull moment. Even from his arrival last year in that real whirlwind of free-flowing, gung-ho attacking football, which was really laid upon the foundations of no excuses, don't need to worry about transfer windows, just get on with it, play football, go and attack, try and score goals. You know, that's seen them get to, kind of in the title race by the halfway point of the year after a bit of a fall off, after a bit of a climb down with a very horrendous injury record they had last year. And this season, the words of Ange coming into this year of I normally win something or I always win something in my second year has been used as a bit of a noose around his neck whenever Tottenham don't look amazing, whenever they don't get the victory, or whenever they concede a goal from a set piece. And Julie, when you look at it, there's really just two camps that are involved in this. You're either an Ange believer, you really see what's going on there, and you believe that with the right set of circumstances and a little bit of fortune that goes your way, of course, as you always need in football, that Ange can lead Tottenham to the promised land, he can lead them to success. And then you've got this other camp that's basically full of detractors, people that really are just waiting to pounce on the big man as soon as something doesn't go right. And for me, the majority of these people are jealous that either they're not that sort of person themselves, or they wish that they got Ange into their football club, or maybe they just don't want him at Tottenham, they don't want to see Tottenham do well. In the video today, I'm going to be highlighting for you guys why I'm still super excited to see how Ange Postecoglou does with Tottenham, and how I think that they're actually showing all the hallmarks and all the credentials of a team that is going to go on and win something this year. And despite the injury crisis maybe reaching that kind of peak level that we've seen again last year, it might actually work out to their benefit. At any point in the video today, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and get into the comment section in this one, especially if you're a Tottenham fan, and let me know about your feelings, your aspirations, your hopes for this season. Do you feel that you're going to go on and win the League Cup, the Europa League or something like that, or are you not quite seeing enough? Let me know your thoughts and feelings. Always excited to catch the comment section on this one. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. Because the last time we spoke about Tottenham here on the channel, they had just defeated Aston Villa by 4-1, which for me was a very impressive performance. In the preview coming into the match, Tottenham had a pretty good head-to-head against Villa the following year, so it wasn't a complete surprise. Villa for me as well, if you follow all the content I do here on the channel, I do cover Aston Villa rather extensively. Coming into that game, like Villa as well themselves, they've been kind of at max revs, they've been really peaking out, and I've had a lot of question marks over them, whether they can kick on, they can go up another gear and really find that top end level of consistency and results capture, getting results that they showed last year. So it wasn't a too big a surprise for me, but I did feel that across the Premier League and across, English football or whatever, this was a real shock result. And really, it seemed to maybe renew a little bit of the vigour, a little bit of the belief in Tottenham fans especially, that Ange could go on and achieve something this year. But when you follow that up with 2 losses away to Galatasaray, with, a very rotated squad, very much second string, isn't it? And then losing to Ipswich at home, the narrative turned. It went a little bit sour on Ange before obviously spanking Man City at the Etihad by 4-0 at the weekend there, coming into the Europa League match they've got against Roma this week. And as I look at this set of results here, even if you look from the Brighton game all the way forward, if we scroll back, do we see much more of this? Yeah, I suppose. Opening game there the opening 2 games there against Everton, the second game. The main criticism I had of Tottenham last year was that they didn't have the ability to really go and score 3 or 4 goals on the regular. That was something that we've seen much more regularly from Aston Villa. But as you look at this set of results here, Tottenham are consistently scoring 3 goals or more. And this is a fantastic benchmark. This is a fantastic hallmark of a team that can take on all comers, that can go against any opponent and hope to try and go on and get the result. But on top of that, as I glance over the results they've had here, and yeah, we know the Galatasaray team was highly rotated. A 1-0 loss away to Palace, and again, when you look at the squad, Mickey Moore started this. Now this year, in the absence of Football Manager 25, I've went out and found a new Football Manager game for me to play and get stuck in with this year. It's called Meta Football League MFL. It's all based on fictional clubs and players. You open your own club, you name it, you design the badge, and with some of the AI image generation that's out there, there's some really fun and interesting clubs that people have made in this game. And it's basically an open network match where you're always competing against other real players that have their own squads, their own players that they're developing and bringing through the ranks across a number of different divisions depending on what level of the game you choose to enter. You're competing for glory, you're competing for recognition, of course, on the leaderboards, but there's also actual money attached to these competitions as well, where it's not just you playing Football Manager and just like, oh, I'm going to win the Champions League with my favourite team. You can actually take on other managers from around the world and compete for cash. If you're interested in checking out MFL, I've got a bunch of videos on the channel that show you how to open an account and beginner mistakes to avoid and that sort of thing. And by clicking on the link that's in the description of this video, you'll get all the beginner Brucey bonus free stuff to get yourself started, as well as supporting me and all the content here at the channel. So I thank you in advance if you do so. If you get stuck, or if you've got any questions with starting up on MFL, jump into the comment sections and I'll come and sort you out. And the last game before an international break, you know, you can see how the bench has been used as well, mainly attacking players coming on, no real defensive or midfield support, as it were. Brighton, it's a 3-2 loss, and again, I remember watching this game, and it was certainly not boring, to say the least. But all the games that they've actually lost, 1-0 here to Arsenal, 2-1 loss to Newcastle, and then you've got that 1-1 draw there with Leicester right at the beginning of the season. If Tottenham are losing, it's only by 1 goal, and this is, again, another fantastic hallmark, a benchmark that even in the games where they aren't getting results, and probably the main thing they would want to address is maybe they turn a few of these losses into draws, but to only lose some of these games by the odd goal really just underlines for me that Tottenham are playing the margins exceptionally well. Not only are they now creating and taking far more chances than before, and, you know, fair enough here, they've conceded 2 against Ipswich, 3 against Galatasaray, 3 against Brighton. They are still conceding goals when they lose, but they're not, you know, being widely outscored. And with a slightly stronger starting 11 in a few of these games, even looking at the Brighton game, they started with Werner on the left, and I know Werner in this game was very, very frustrating. A few of these losses become draws very quickly, maybe even 1 or 2 of them could have became wins. And when you look at how tight the Premier League is right now, Tottenham are only 4 points off of Man City in second. You know, Liverpool are kind of running away now at the top spot, but even if you forget about City, 3 points into the top 4 to finish in third, and that's considering already they've lost 5 matches. Now, one of the big benchmarks I had last year looking at Tottenham and Aston Villa was the 12-13 loss mark. Once you get over 11 losses in the Premier League, finishing in the top 4 or 5 is very, very difficult, and Tottenham is probably the main worry I've got for them right now, that they've already collected 5 losses. But when you look at the fact that they're the top scorers in the Premier League right now with 27 goals scored, and with only 13 conceded, they're not the best defence, but they certainly make it into the top 3, the top 4 picture. In the Europa League, at a point of recording, they still have Claudio Ranieri's Roma to play this week before they play Rangers, which is an easy 3 points coming. But they're currently 7 and 7th, and it's very feasible to assume that at this point, Tottenham are looking good, they're looking strong to finish in that top 8 to get to the last 32 or the last 16 or whatever round that would propel them into. And when you couple that with the upcoming fixture list that they have, you know, 3 games in the next 4, only an away trip there to Bournemouth. Tough games, London derbies, Fulham and Chelsea coming to Tottenham Stadium before that easy game against Rangers. Away to Southampton, you know, is one of those games where, you know, Tottenham should be doing pretty well. But then it's that quarter-final against Man United before playing Liverpool, which will be I don't want to say a bit of a free hit, but quite similar to the City game, where if they can get something, it'll be massive, of course, but the expectations on them getting something will be diminished, and, you know, they can have a bit more of a free go at it, maybe less pressure on a negative result occurring, as it were. But just looking over the next kind of 5 or 6 games here, coming to that Man United quarter-final, it's very, very feasible for me that Tottenham get 6 more points in the Europa League. They get past Man United to get to the semi-final of the EFL, the League Cup. And over these 4 or 5 league matches, like, they could very easily continue the sort of form they've got. And then you're coming into the middle of December with Tottenham in a semi-final, with them through to the advanced knockout rounds of the Europa League, and with them still breathing down the neck of the top 4. I heard a really interesting clip from BBC 5 Live, or whoever it might have been, but it was Chris Sutton arguing with somebody else, and the other guy, you know, Chris Sutton made the argument a little bit contrived about Ange. He gets very defensive about him because he loves him, of course, but the other guy was saying stuff like Tottenham have got him he's under a lot of pressure to not only deliver this trophy, but to get them into the top 4. Now, I know Tottenham will want to get into the top 4. It was something they just missed out on last year. They're very much in the mix for it this year, but I don't think that that's the level of pressure that Tottenham is to do it all, you know, to really reign high in the league, as well as, you know, in the Europa League or the League Cup or maybe the FA Cup. Let's see how that one shakes out, go very far and ultimately win the thing. I think Tottenham is much more a case of, hey, if you did get top 4, semi-final might happen. Let's see how the Man United game goes. But as long as you've got a significant cup run, I think Tottenham fans would accept that. I think Ange himself would be very disappointed at his personal record being shattered at that kind of situation. But I don't think the pressure at Tottenham is that kind of widespread. I don't think it's that 360 where they expect to be all conquering or very competitive in every competition, although they very much are at this point. Now, with the Man City game, this kind of reared its head again from last year, where we had this horrible injury crisis where they had no defenders. They were playing, you know, Ben Davis and Emerson Royale and Eric Dyer and all these different, non-centre backs in centre back. And the Man City game, Ben Davies and Dragusin. Now, Dragusin, the January signing, is very much kind of held his weight here. I don't think he was that great in the game, truth be told, but a very capable and a very willing deputy to Van de Ven and to Romero, who were out. And, they came through this game with flying colours. Udogie seems to get injured every other week, and this defence now is starting to kind of come apart at the seams a little bit. We've also had news that Vicario has had to go and get ankle surgery, which is going to bring probably Fraser Forster into the nets. And I think this development might actually just accidentally lead Tottenham into the perfect solution for some of their problems. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, last year they weren't scoring enough as regularly. Check, they're doing that. They're now not really losing games, but they're not going into a game and getting absolutely their ass handed to them anymore. There's no teams really cutting them open and really taking advantage of Ange ball and all the rest of it. But one of the weaknesses still, especially in cup competitions that you need to watch out for, is their weaknesses at set pieces, which is still kind of there to be seen. And one thing I know from Big Fraser Forster is he will make you instantly better at defending set pieces. The Great Wall of Forster is a bit of an icon, a bit of a hero up here in Glasgow, despite, he left us twice and it was not in great circumstances, so it's not all sunshine and rainbows when it comes to Fraser Forster up here. But one thing that is undeniable about Fraser Forster in goals is he is an absolute wall. He is a goalkeeper's goalkeeper. And like I already mentioned there, he makes you instantly better at defending set pieces. The big man has not had that much of a Tottenham career to really speak of to this point. But even when he's filled in the past, the big man has been a capable and an able deputy. And again, the time where he's came in has maybe not been the best time in Tottenham's, kind of recent history or whatever. As you can see here, lots of goal concessions and all the rest of it. But the big man was still capable to pull out clean sheets against some of the better teams, AC Milan in Europe, Chelsea and West Ham at home, Crystal Palace at home, AZ there as well. And although I'm a big fan of Vicario, I think he's a very good, playing out from the back, sweeper keeper, very energetic, puts his body, puts his life on the line, you feel like, to save balls for Tottenham. Fraser Forster gives you a lot of that, but because he is such a huge dominating force in the air, I could see Tottenham maybe getting their act together a little bit better here in terms of the goals they're conceding from set pieces mainly, but just generally overall. Fraser Forster doesn't really have the ability to openly play out from the back, so this is a guy that does like to play the ball a bit longer and has got, he's got a great throw on him, can really throw really high up the pitch. So there's going to be a little bit of a difference in how Tottenham get out of their defensive third, but I think this might be a bit of a blessing in disguise, because over all of these games that we've just featured here, Fraser Forster looks to be the #1 goalkeeper, and the big man is a big game goalkeeper in my experience. I can see him turning up in league games in Europe and in the Premier League and making a huge difference for Tottenham in the spell that he's going to be called upon. Now, when Vicario comes back to be fit and available, it's probably widely accepted and a bit of a foregone conclusion that he'll come back in to be the #1. But the victories, the points, the clean sheets, anything that Foster can do between now and then is going to make a massive contribution to any and all success that Tottenham do go on to have later on in this year. Now, as much as Dragusin and Ben Davies didn't look too bad against Manchester City, when we actually look at the defence, it is still a little bit thin, and when they get to that January window, you've got to think they're going to get an extra reinforcement. Romero's out with a toe injury. I'm not too sure how long that will be, but Van de Ven taking another hamstring injury, and bearing in mind he's an explosive player, it's all about his pace. This does feel like a problem that will be reoccurring. And as much as that's good for maybe somebody like Dragusin, who can think about getting into the team a little bit more, it's not good for Tottenham. You need another guy that's of that level to come in and kind of fill the gaps. Ben Davies has been that kind of able deputy, as it were, but as time goes on, we've seen it before. He's fine, he's great, he puts everything out there that you would want him to, but he's not got the level, he's not got the physical attributes that you really need to implement this Ange ball to the best possible way. I think we could see a little bit more of Jed Spence with the recurring injuries that we see to Udogie. But really, when I look at the rest of the team, they've got two to a position, and the very interesting and very exciting thing about the midfield is the different combinations that Ange has managed to pull off. I think against Man City, it was a bit of a masterstroke starting Maddison and then playing Kulusevski in the wide free to have him coming inside and using his muscle, using his technique to Tottenham's advantage. So for midfield, with all the depth and the kind of two-to position they've got, and even up front now at this point, with Lancashire, Richarlison, maybe there's a little bit of something there for whoever the backup forward is. Obviously, Odobert has got a bit of a hamstring injury. He's out for a while as well. But I don't think there's any urgent requirement to go and reinforce a lot of these ranks as much as there would be to go and get another centre-back in. Maybe another centre-back who can play a little bit of defensive midfield as well, because Bissouma is a very good defensive midfielder, Sara's a little bit more box-to-box, and Bentancur, who is suspended at the moment because of his, let's not go into it. He's a defensive mid, but he's more of a holding mid. He's not really that defensive shield in front of the back four. That's maybe a bit of a profile they're missing. So if they could get a guy that does that job, that's also a centre-back to trade or whatever, that could be a massive upgrade for them. But Tottenham have got so much going in their favour now that they didn't have last year, and they certainly didn't have the year before, where they can genuinely beat absolutely any team. In any team, in any game where they're not getting maximum points, there's not that much in it. They can rotate. You don't know what their best 11 is. They can actually tactically tweak themselves to match up with their opponent. And with the way the league table's standing at the moment, top goal scorers in the league, only one draw in 11 games. Yeah, they could do with a few more draws or a few more non-losses from the results they've had already. But law of averages and the way things go and all the rest of it, Tottenham should get a few more draws than they do losses over the next couple of games. And as long as they can keep that loss column under 11, under 12, under 13, around that region here, getting them back into the top 5, the top 4, the top 6 is very much going to be on the cards. Which means, for this team that's either win or lose, you can really focus on the cup competitions a little bit more, because if the league is as tight as it is, and you can keep that level of form up here when that quarterfinal against Man United comes up, when those Europa League knockout games come out, they have options, they've got depth, and they've got a style of play that wins football matches. Of that, I think at this point there is no doubt. So I'm really excited to see Fraser Forster come into the starting lineup here and see if he can make a bit of a difference defensively. And hopefully for Tottenham, they can keep on their free scoring front foot approach to go on and actually beat teams, actually outscore the opposition, and make this season a very, very memorable one. I'm really excited for Tottenham, and I think they're really going under the radar in a lot of ways, and a lot of the Ange Postecoglou kind of noise or media coverage or whatever really takes a lot away from a lot of the good stuff that Tottenham are doing. And really looking at this, fast forward 1, 2, 3 transfer windows from now, Tottenham, for me, could be very comfortably a top 4 team in the Premier League. They're not missing too much before they can bridge that little bit of a gap that they've still got to being an established, recognisable Champions League level Premier League outfit. Don't forget to jump into the comment section on this one, guys. On screen now is some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more content like this. Let me know about Tottenham. Are they going to win a trophy? Can they hang into the Champions League spots in the Premier League? Always interested to catch the comment sections on these one. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one.